what kind of a wuss beta male is splitting the check? But like, who are you?
Hi, and welcome back to the Doubter's Diary. Today, we're going to talk about a story that you are probably so sick of hearing of if you're like me, the demise of Charlie Kirk. But I'm going to come at it a little bit different. You know that the left is trying to blame MAGA Republican for this, and you know MAGA Republicans are trying to blame wild-eyed leftists for us. But the most desperate people trying to distance themselves from it are Christians, just like this one. Now, when I say Christian, I'm also including Mormons and Catholics in that. When I was an evangelical Christian, they were heretics. But have you noticed that politics makes strange bedfellows? Now we have the Mormons, the Catholics, and evangelical Christians getting into bed together to make gay and trans the boogeyman, the ones who are doing the shootings, the ones who are crazy. So I want to talk about 3 lessons that I think that Christians should learn from this whole Charlie Kirk situation. But I don't think they will. I'm not real optimistic that they will. Now, stay to the end. I'm going to briefly talk about where I've been and what I've been doing and what I'm going to do with this channel. If you're interested, and if you're not interested, you can bail before then. All right, let's get into it. The first lesson is that God does not protect anyone, not even his own. Can a Christian give me even one good, reasonable explanation why God would cut down such a young man in his prime, someone doing God's work? You guys know Seth Andrews, right? This is something that deconverted him. His story is that a Christian artist, and I can't remember who it was, died in a car accident on a way to a charity event. So it did get to him. But don't you believe that Charlie Kirk and his own team probably prayed every single time before one of these events to keep him safe, to keep his team safe? And yet he died in the most horrific way, right in front of his children, in front of his wife, in front of a bunch of young people doing God's work. God is either not capable or he doesn't care about protecting anyone, not even someone who he calls his own, someone doing his own work. So that's the first lesson. God doesn't or can't protect anyone, including you, if you put your faith in him. And that kind of dovetails into the second lesson that I hope Christians learn from that. And that is, why is God allowing Tyler Robinson, who is the alleged shooter, his family to suffer? Also a very conservative family, also doing God's work, raising him in a good home. That's the presumption that I'm making, because that's what his neighbors and family say, that he was raised in a very good home with caring parents, going to church, just doing God's work. And now these parents will suffer till the day they die, and their son is likely to get the death penalty. Why? Why would God do that? Why would God even allow a Taylor Robinson to exist in a family like this? That's a question that I think a lot of Christian parents ask themselves. I have a very fundamentalist, very extreme right-wing friend. She's not much of a friend anymore because I literally don't feel comfortable around her anymore. I love her, but I can't be around her because some of the views that she espouses. But she has 3 children. She homeschooled them from the time they were very young because she didn't want them exposed to the world. One is not speaking to her anymore, absolutely refuses to have anything to do with her. That's the oldest one. The second one is definitely still has a relationship with her parents, but she is not a Christian anymore, and she lives She's been married and divorced and living with several different men, and lives with somebody now and is just not in a Christian lifestyle and probably will never come back. And the third one is a lesbian. So why would God? Now, this is nothing like Tyler Robinson's family, but my friend has suffered so greatly from thinking that her children are going to hell. This is what she thinks and what she truly believes. And the rest of her life has also been somewhat of a train wreck, too. I'm not going to go into it, but her life has not been nearly as good as mine. And I'm an atheist, and I went away. And lesson number 3, and the most important one, and one that I hope that Christians will take to heart and learn from. But, I don't think they will. But first of all, before I get into it, I want to say that I don't condone what Tyler Robinson did in any way, shape, or form. He was wrong, and he is 100% responsible for his actions. But is he 100% at fault? I can make an argument that I don't think he is at fault. I believe that Charlie Kirk contributed to the problem of the Tyler Robinsons in the world. And what do I mean by that? I mean that evangelical Christians, that would include Mormons and Catholics, have made people that don't conform to their form of masculinity and maleness feel so horrific about themselves that people that have mental problems or aren't quite right or haven't got the help that they need feel that they need to lash out because they feel so bad about themselves because they've been made to feel so bad about themselves. If you grew up in a conservative environment, conservative Christian family, you know that we're taught that we're desperately evil and wicked from the day that we're born. So that, number one, makes you feel bad about yourself no matter who you are. And if you're a female, and if you're a male, a gay male or a trans male or someone who just isn't an alpha male, and Charlie Kirk loved to talk about alpha males and beta males, and I hated that he talked like that. It makes you feel so bad about yourself that you don't live up to that. So he helped create this culture. Well, he didn't help create it. He's much too young. He was only 31 when he died, but he perpetuated this whole culture of you've got to be a man's man. You have to take charge. You have to be the breadwinner and the leader of the family. And not all men are cut out for that. And so I can see how somebody like Tyler Robinson would take that to heart because he probably grew up with that from the minute he was born. And he was made to feel so bad about himself. Again, he should have gotten therapy. He should have just gotten out, and he chose the wrong way to go about this 100%. But he is not completely at fault. I believe that the way that Christians go about making you feel so bad about yourself is part of the reason that Tyler Robinson did what he did. I think Kirk was probably just somebody who he was lashing out at the whole conservative way that he grew up. Does that make sense? In other words, I'm not sure that Charlie Kirk was a target. I'm not sure he was trying to kill Charlie Kirk. I'm wondering if he was, this is just my own speculation, if Kirk just embodied what made him feel so bad about himself. You were talking his parents, we're talking his church, and we're talking about the culture at large that made him feel, I'm going to assume he was queer in some way, and I mean that in the best way possible. He was either gay or wanted a relationship with a trans woman or whatever his deal was. We don't know yet. That has to come out. So this is just my speculation. Remember that. But this is what I think. I think that the conservative Christian movement as a whole is partially at fault, not responsible. There's a big difference between responsibility and who's at fault. But I think that I hope that Christians will tone that down. And I have seen Kirk many times go after males that he didn't think lived up to the masculine form of Christianity that he espoused. When I was a young girl, I was a tomboy. I liked boy things, and my mom thought that I was a lesbian. And so, of course, you know that girls have to fit into this form of femininity. And so, my mom would often talk about lesbians and gays and these kind of diseases that they would get. And she would take me to anti-homosexuality crusades. And I was just confused, like, I don't understand this. I was a little girl. I didn't understand any of this. But my mom was so scared that she would try and push me into a mold of what femininity is. I didn't turn out to be a lesbian. I'm just, my mother is not alive anymore. I wish I could talk to her about that, why she did that to me. Why can't I just be a tomboy? And now I know it's okay if I want to be a tomboy or if I want to be feminine. So I kind of understand where Tyler Robinson is coming from. I understand the shame. I understand the guilt that he felt. And I understand the hatred that he could have towards the community that made him feel so bad about himself. So I understand that. So we'll see how all of this plays out. And I hope that Charlie Kirk's family can get over the trauma that they saw, and I hope that Tyler Robinson's family can get over this trauma. And I even hope the best for Tyler Robinson, even though I think that he is a danger to society and probably needs to be at least locked up for the rest of his life because he doesn't seem to be able to handle his emotions very well. Okay, stay tuned for what I have been up to. I haven't made very many videos in 2025 because Donald Trump, when he went into office, took over everything. And if you weren't making videos about Donald Trump and politics, it was very hard to get any views. I have made a video about Donald Trump, but only about his Christianity. And I dug really deep into his past. I'll link that above so you can go check that out about his childhood, even all the way back to his childhood to where he is now with his Christian walk. And it was very surprising to me, and I'm glad I did it. But it's done in a really non-biased way where we don't talk about, politics very much because that's not my wheelhouse. I'm not a politician, and I don't know enough about issues most of the time to make any sort of pronouncement on them. You know my stance. I'm an atheist, so obviously I'm not right wing, but I'm not, terribly left wing either. I'm somewhere in the middle, and so that's where we stand with that. So that's why I haven't been making very many videos. I'm hoping all of that has died down now that we're closing out 2025 and I can come back to making the videos that I like about Christianity and religion and how to get out of it and the different issues that I see. So thank you so much. I hope you like and subscribe, and I hope that you come back for more, and I will see you in the next one.